Captain Lisa Harmon stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel Horizon, watching the swirling blue-green atmosphere of Proxima 7 fill the view screen. She brushed a strand of blonde hair from her face and checked the mission parameters one more time. This was supposed to be routine. Map the surface, take atmospheric readings, and look for signs of microbiological life. Nothing more. "Entering stable orbit, Captain," said pilot Greg Mason, his fingers dancing across the control panel. Lisa nodded. "Excellent. Begin surface scans." Science Officer Alan Wright hunched over his station, his lean frame casting a long shadow as the lights dimmed automatically to enhance the display readouts. Initial scans show breathable atmosphere with higher oxygen content than Earth. Temperature readings indicate a climate similar to our Mediterranean regions. "Any signs of life?" Lisa asked, leaning forward. Alan's eyes widened as data streamed across his screen. "Yes, but not what we expected. I'm detecting ruins, extensive ruins across the northern continent." A buzz of excitement filled the bridge. This was only humanity's fourth exoplanet exploration, and they had never found evidence of an advanced civilization before. "Show me," Lisa ordered. The main screen changed to display a sprawling complex of structures partially reclaimed by jungle. The buildings followed mathematical patterns unlike anything in human architecture, spirals and fractals that seemed to repeat infinitely as the view zoomed closer. "Those structures are at least 10,000 years old," Alan said, his voice filled with wonder. "And there's something else. An energy reading coming from what appears to be a central plaza. It's pulsing." Lisa made a quick decision. "Prepare a landing party. We need to see this up close." 4 hours later, Lisa led a 6-person team through the dense vegetation surrounding the ancient city. The air was thick and sweet, filled with the scent of alien flowers. Chief Security Officer Ben Miller walked point, his hand never far from his sidearm. "The energy signature is stronger now," Alan said, checking his handheld scanner. Just ahead, they pushed through a curtain of vine-like plants and entered a massive circular plaza. The ground was paved with something that resembled marble, but shimmered with faint inner light. In the center stood a pillar of dark metal, about 7 feet tall. "That's our energy source," Alan confirmed. Lisa approached carefully. "Any idea what it is?" "It appears to be some kind of artifact," Alan replied. "The metal doesn't match any known element, and the energy patterns, they're synchronizing with our biorhythms. It's almost like it knows we're here." Lisa felt a chill despite the warm air. "Everyone maintain distance until we understand what we're dealing with." Dr. Karen Nelson, the team's xenobiologist, circled the artifact, taking readings. "Captain, the patterns it's generating, they're matching our brainwaves now. It's definitely responding to our presence." Alan moved closer, fascinated. "The patterns are becoming more complex. I think it's trying to communicate." "Alan, keep your distance," Lisa warned, but she was too late. Drawn by scientific curiosity, Alan reached out and placed his palm against the smooth surface of the artifact. His body went rigid instantly, his eyes rolling back to show only whites. "Alan!" Lisa rushed forward, but Ben held her back. "Don't touch him," Ben warned. "We don't know what that thing is doing." For 30 seconds, Alan stood frozen in contact with the pillar. Then he collapsed to the ground, gasping. The team rushed to his side. "What happened?" Lisa demanded, helping him sit up. Alan's face was pale, his eyes wide with shock. "I saw them," he whispered. "Gods, or something close to it. Huge beings fighting across galaxies." "What are you talking about?" Lisa asked. "They call themselves the Nyx Pantheon," Alan continued, his voice steadying. "They've been watching the universe evolve for billions of years. They manipulate species, push them toward war, feed on the conflict somehow." Karen checked his vital signs. "His brain activity is off the charts, but he's stable. They've used thousands of species as pawns," Alan went on. "But when they sensed us through the artifact, something changed. I felt it. They're afraid of us, Lisa. These beings that have existed since the birth of stars are afraid of humans. Lisa looked at the artifact with new wariness. Why would they fear us? We've barely left our solar system. I don't know exactly, but I saw flashes. Our history, our wars. How quickly we developed from stone tools to nuclear weapons. They see something in us that terrifies them. Before Lisa could respond, the artifact began to pulse more rapidly, the glow intensifying. Everyone, back to the shuttle now, she ordered. They had barely made it halfway across the plaza when the air itself seemed to tear open. A rift of swirling energy appeared, expanding rapidly. "Run!" Lisa shouted. But the rift moved faster, engulfing them in seconds. Lisa felt her body stretching, compressing, folding in impossible ways. She tried to scream, but had no voice in this place between places. When she could see again, the horizon was floating in what looked like space, but wrong somehow. The stars were too bright, too close together, and they moved in patterns that hurt the eyes if watched too long. "Status report," Lisa called out as she picked herself up from the bridge floor. "All systems functioning," reported Chief Engineer Maria Hill. "But, Captain, I don't think we're in our universe anymore." The view screen showed their new reality. They were in a vast arena of sorts, with different environments visible in the distance. Desert landscapes, ice fields, dense jungles and stranger terrains that defied description. Alan stared at the screen, his face ashen. "It's a testing ground," he said quietly. "The Knicks want to see what we're capable of." Lisa felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. Somehow humanity had attracted the attention of cosmic entities, and now her crew would have to prove whatever quality had caused these deities of war to fear them in the first place. "Send a message to Earth," she ordered, though she doubted it would reach across dimensions. "And prepare all personnel for emergency protocols. If these Knicks want to test us, they'll find that humans don't go down easily." As if in response to her words, the artifact they had brought aboard began to pulse again, projecting an image into the center of the bridge. A figure formed, vaguely humanoid but 20 feet tall, with skin like burnished metal and eyes that burned with the light of dying stars. "We are the Knicks," it spoke directly into their minds. "And you are the first species to concern us in 50 million years. Let the trials begin." Lieutenant Commander Jack Reeves wiped sweat from his forehead as he led his security team through the dense jungle terrain. The air was thick with moisture and strange scents that reminded him vaguely of cinnamon and copper. It had been 3 days since the horizon had been pulled into this realm between dimensions, and the testing had begun immediately. "Movement to the left," whispered Security Officer Donna Lewis, raising her pulse rifle. Jack signaled the team to freeze. Through the undergrowth, a shape moved with deliberate slowness. Not one of the predatory creatures they had encountered earlier. This was different. "Hold fire," Jack ordered quietly. "I think it's watching us." The shape resolved into a being, roughly humanoid but with skin that shifted colors like an octopus. It had 4 arms and large liquid eyes that blinked sideways. When it saw that the humans had spotted it, it raised 2 arms in what seemed like a peaceful gesture. "I am called Veronique," it spoke, the words appearing directly in their minds. "Your kind is new here." Jack lowered his weapon slightly but kept it ready. "We're humans, from Earth. Did the Knicks bring you here too?" The alien made a gesture that might have been a nod. "Many cycles ago. My people failed their tests. Only a few of us remain, hiding in the boundary zones where the Knicks pay less attention." "What exactly are these tests?" Jack asked. "Combat, strategy, survival. The Knicks study all aspects of warfare." Vranic's skin rippled with dark patterns. "But your arrival has changed things. The testing grounds have never been so active. The Knicks are focusing most of their energy on you." Before Jack could ask more questions, his comm unit crackled. "Lieutenant Commander, this is Communications Officer Chen. Return to base immediately. We've made contact." Back at the temporary camp established near the horizon, Olivia Chen had managed something unprecedented. Using modified communications, equipment and data from the artifact, she had established partial contact with one of the Knicks entities directly. Captain Harmon stood behind her as the view screen flickered with strange energy patterns. "Can they understand us?" "I think so," Olivia replied, adjusting settings. "They don't communicate with words exactly. It's more like concepts and emotions transmitted directly." The energy on the screen coalesced into a towering figure with features that seemed to shift and change, making it impossible to describe precisely. When it spoke, everyone present felt the words rather than heard them. "I am Morcath of the Nyx. You intrigue us, humans." Captain Harmon stepped forward. "We came to Proxima 7 peacefully. We didn't intend to enter your realm. Intent is irrelevant. You are here, and now we must understand you." The entity's form rippled. Other species follow predictable patterns when threatened. They act to maximize survival. But you are aberrations. Jack exchanged glances with the captain. This was the first explanation they'd received about why the Nyx seemed so interested in humans specifically. "What makes us different?" Captain Harmon asked. "Unpredictability. Adaptability beyond rational limits. You create solutions that should not be possible." Morcath's form darkened. "In our simulations, your species achieves in mere thousands of years what takes others millions." Meanwhile, in the science lab aboard the Horizon, Dr. Samantha Grant had been studying the artifact non-stop. With each new test, she uncovered more of its true purpose. "It's a sensor," she explained to engineer Paul Rodriguez. "It doesn't just communicate with the Nyx, it collects data on how we respond to different situations." Paul examined the readings on her screen. "So the artifact was planted on Proxima 7 deliberately, as a trap for spacefaring species?" "Not exactly a trap," Samantha said. "More like a research tool. I think the Nyx aren't just testing us for fun. They're genuinely trying to understand something about us that worries them." Their conversation was interrupted by an alarm. On the monitors, they could see that the camp was under attack. Massive creatures resembling bears but with 6 legs and armored scales were charging from the jungle. "Those aren't natural creatures," Samantha said, grabbing a weapon. "They're constructs, another test." Outside, the security team had formed a defensive perimeter, but they were outnumbered. Jack ordered standard containment protocols, but the creatures proved resistant to their weapons. "Fall back to the ship," he shouted as one of the beasts knocked Donna to the ground. He fired repeatedly, drawing its attention away from her. Engineer Rodriguez rushed from the ship, carrying what looked like a modified field generator. "Get clear," he yelled. When the team had created enough distance, Paul activated the device. It emitted a high-pitched sound that made the humans wince but sent the creatures into confusion. They began attacking each other, their coordinated assault breaking down completely. "What did you do?" Jack asked, helping Donna to her feet. "Reversed. The sonic frequencies they used to communicate," Paul explained, "turned their own coordination against them. But it's just a temporary fix. The device will burn out in minutes." Captain Harmon used those minutes to get everyone safely back to the Horizon. Once inside, they watched on the monitors as the creatures eventually regained their coordination, but then retreated into the jungle. On the bridge, the communication with Morcath had continued. The entity seemed disturbed. "You reconfigured your technology to counteract our constructs," it said. "The probability of finding that solution with your limited resources was 0.087%. "Humans are good at improvising," Captain Harmon replied. "This is precisely what concerns us." Morcath's form flickered. "In our observations across 12 galaxies in 9 million years, no species has demonstrated your capacity for weaponizing anything at hand." Dr. Grant entered the bridge, her analysis complete. "Captain, I've figured it out. The Nyx aren't just deities of war, they feed on it somehow. They've guided the evolution of thousands of species toward predictable patterns of conflict. But we don't follow those patterns." Morcath's image grew larger, looming over them. "You are dangerous. You do not fight as you should. You do not die as you should. And most concerning of all, you do not think as you should." The communication abruptly ended, but in that moment, the crew of the Horizon understood their situation more clearly. They weren't just test subjects. They were the first species the Nix had encountered who might genuinely threaten their dominion over the cosmic battlefield. Captain Harmon looked at her crew, determination in her eyes. If these so-called gods want to see what humans are capable of, let's show them. Major Eliza Washington stared at the strange lights in the sky above the Pentagon. For the past week, similar phenomena had been reported worldwide, aurora-like glows that moved with purpose, forming patterns that scientists couldn't explain. The head of Global Defense Command's newly formed Anomaly Division, Eliza was responsible for coordinating the worldwide response to these events. But how do you defend against something you don't understand? Any updates from NASA? She asked. Her assistant, Ryan Clark. Nothing conclusive, Ryan replied, handing her a tablet. The phenomena don't appear on most instruments. They're only visible to the human eye in certain types of cameras. Eliza frowned. Something about this detail bothered her, but before she could pursue the thought, the air in her office seemed to thicken and warp. She reached for her sidearm, but her hand passed through it as if it were a hologram. The entire room wavered like a mirage, and then she was somewhere else entirely. A vast empty space with no visible boundaries, dimly lit by an unseen source. Before her stood a figure nearly 12 feet tall. It had a vaguely humanoid shape, but its skin looked like polished bronze and its forearms ended in hands with too many fingers. Its face was beautiful and terrible at once, with eyes that seemed to contain galaxies. I am Carax. The being spoke directly into her mind. And I have broken consensus to contact you. Eliza maintained her composure despite the impossible situation. Are you responsible for the phenomena we've been seeing? Those are merely side effects. The barrier between dimensions weakens as my kind focuses their attention on your people. Carax moved closer, and Eliza felt a pressure against her mind. I have limited time. The others will detect this communication soon. Others? You mean there are more like you? We are the Nix. We have existed since the early universe formed. Your kind would call us gods, though we are simply older. The being's eyes flashed. Some of your people have already encountered us. Your vessel Horizon is currently in our testing realm. Eliza felt a chill. The Horizon had gone missing near Proxima 7 a week ago, matching the timeline of the strange phenomena. What do you want with them? With us? To understand if you are the threat we fear you to be. Carax's form rippled. For billions of years we have guided the evolution of sentient species across the universe. We have cultivated their conflicts, feeding on the psychic energy of war. Images flashed through Eliza's mind. Countless alien civilizations rising and falling, their wars playing out according to patterns she somehow recognized as mathematical and predictable. But humans, Carax continued, humans defy our models. You developed weapons in thousands of years that took other species millions. You utilize tactics that no algorithm can predict. You choose strategies that numerical analysis would reject as suboptimal. Is that why you took the Horizon? To study us? The Pantheon is divided. Some, like Morkath, believe you must be eliminated before you evolve further. Others believe your unpredictability represents the next stage in cosmic evolution. Carax's form grew brighter. I am of the latter faction. Meanwhile, aboard the Horizon, Captain Lisa Harmon and her crew had begun to understand the true nature of their captivity. Through careful observation and the information gleaned from their alien ally Vranique, they realized the testing ground responded to their expectations and beliefs. It's like a dream world but physical, Alan Wright explained during a strategy meeting. The Nix created it based on what they understand about our psychology. Dr. Samantha Grant nodded in agreement. Which means its rules aren't fixed. When we expect something to work a certain way, it often does. The Nix are trying to understand how we think by seeing how we interact with this environment. Then we can use that against them, Lisa said. If we work together and expect the same outcome, over the next few days, the crew began a systematic effort to manipulate the testing ground itself. When security teams ventured out, they focused their collective belief on specific outcomes. Gradually, they gained a measure of control over their surroundings. But their greatest discovery came from an unexpected source. The alien survivors from other species who had failed the Nix's tests watched the humans with the same fear as their godlike captors. "Why are you afraid of us?" Jack Reeves asked Vranek during one of their increasingly frequent meetings. The alien's skin rippled with dark patterns. "Because you cooperate in ways we cannot understand. Your kind will sacrifice individual survival for abstract concepts. This makes no sense to the Nix, and it makes no sense to most species." "You mean loyalty? Friendship?" Jack was confused. "More than that. You fight hardest when victory is impossible. You continue resisting when all logical analysis would dictate surrender. And most disturbing of all, you forgive your enemies." Vranek's large eyes blinked sideways. The Nix feed on conflict. A species that can end conflict through cooperation and forgiveness threatens their very existence. Back on Earth, Eliza's meeting with Carax continued. "The majority of the Pantheon has voted to eliminate humanity," Carax explained. "They will attempt to sever your dimension from the multiverse, causing a cascade failure that will destroy your solar system." "How do we stop that?" Eliza demanded. "You must prove yourselves in the testing ground. My faction will help the Horizon return with knowledge that could prepare Earth." Carax's form began to fade. "We have discovered that human creativity disrupts our ability to maintain dimensional barriers. Art, music, literature, these things confuse our perceptions. Why are you helping us?" "Because after billions of years of guiding evolution, we have reached a crossroads. Either life in this universe will continue along predictable paths of eternal conflict, feeding us forever, or a new paradigm will emerge." Carax was barely visible now. "I believe humans represent that paradigm. You are the first species with the potential to transcend the patterns we established at the dawn of time." As Carax vanished completely, Eliza found herself back in her Pentagon office as if no time had passed. On her desk lay an object that hadn't been there before, a small metal cube covered in symbols that matched the patterns in the sky. She immediately ordered a secure channel open to all major research facilities worldwide. "This is Major Washington. We need to broadcast art, music, and literature on all frequencies immediately. And I need all available resources focused on opening a portal to the coordinates I'm sending now." The cube began to glow in response to her words. The human counterattack against the gods of war had begun. Captain Lisa Harmon watched as her crew worked with a new sense of purpose. The discovery that they could manipulate the testing ground through collective belief had changed everything. Now they weren't just surviving, they were fighting back. "The environment responds to our expectations," Dr. Samantha Grant explained to the assembled team leaders. "But we need to coordinate our efforts. If we all expect different outcomes, we create chaos. If we all focus on the same goal, we can reshape this reality." Lieutenant Commander Jack Reeves nodded. "It's like a psychological weapon. We need to use it as one." The crew began training together, learning to sync their expectations. They created safe zones where they collectively believed no Nix constructs could enter. Those zones remained untouched while areas they didn't focus on faced increasingly difficult challenges. "The Nix are trying to understand how we think," Alan Wright observed. "They're changing the tests based on our responses." "Then let's show them something they've never seen before," Lisa said with determination. She organized the crew and the surviving alien species into a unified force. The aliens were skeptical at first. They had spent years hiding from the Nix, convinced that resistance was pointless. "Why fight what cannot be defeated?" asked Vranek, his skin pulsing with worried patterns. "Because that's what humans do," Jack replied simply. "We don't accept no-win scenarios." This concept baffled the aliens, but slowly they began to trust the humans' strange confidence. Together they formed an unlikely alliance of species from across the galaxy, united by a common goal: to challenge the gods who had manipulated them all. On Earth, Major Eliza Washington had mobilized a global response. The strange metal cube. Carax had left her contained information about the Nix and their weaknesses. Most importantly, It confirmed what the alien had told her. Human creativity disrupted Nick's perception. "I need every artist, musician, and writer broadcasting their work," she ordered during an emergency United Nations session. "We need to create so much cultural noise that these beings can't maintain their hold on our dimension." Around the world, orchestras played while painters created massive works visible from the sky. Writers released their stories directly to the public. It was a worldwide creative explosion unlike anything in human history. In research labs, scientists studied the cube's technology. They discovered ways to amplify the effect of human art, developing devices that translated creative expression into energy that weakened the dimensional barriers. Engineer Paul Rodriguez made a critical discovery aboard the Horizon. While repairing damaged equipment, he noticed something odd about the way energy flowed through the ship's systems. "The Nyx realm doesn't just operate on physical laws," he explained to Captain Harmon. "It runs on symbolic logic as well. When we refused to surrender despite overwhelming odds during the last attack, it created a paradox in their system." "A paradox? How?" Lisa asked. "Their reality is built on the assumption that all beings will choose the optimal strategy for survival," Paul said. "When we continue fighting despite certain defeat, we're breaking their basic programming. It actually damages their domain." This revelation changed their strategy completely. Instead of avoiding the most difficult challenges, the crew began deliberately seeking them out. Not with the expectation of winning, but with the unshakable determination to never give up regardless of the odds. Each time they faced certain defeat but refused to surrender, the testing ground itself faltered, reality rippled and glitched around them. The Nyx constructs became confused, sometimes disappearing entirely. "We're teaching them something they've never encountered before," Dr. Grant realized, "that sometimes the fight itself matters more than the outcome." Jack organized a series of missions designed to demonstrate this uniquely human trait. Teams ventured into the most dangerous zones to rescue trapped aliens, retrieve important artifacts, or simply stand their ground against impossible odds. During one such mission, they encountered a direct manifestation of Morkath, a towering figure of burnished metal and cosmic fire who appeared before them in a clearing. "Your behavior defies analysis," the deity's voice boomed in their minds. "You choose strategies that guarantee your destruction. We choose based on what we believe is right," Jack replied, standing his ground despite the overwhelming presence. "Not what gives us the best odds of survival." "This concept of right is irrelevant to warfare," Morkath insisted. "No," Jack countered. "It's the only thing that matters. We fight hardest for what we believe in, not just to survive." This exchange created the strongest reaction yet. The entire testing ground shuddered as if struck by an earthquake. In that moment, the crew realized they had found the Nyx's greatest blind spot, their inability to understand that humans would choose principles over survival. Meanwhile, on Earth, the dimensional disturbances were increasing. Strange tears, in reality, appeared in major cities, offering brief glimpses into the realm where the Horizon was trapped. Through these tears, Major Washington's team managed to establish intermittent communication with the missing ship. "We've figured out how to manipulate their reality," Lisa reported during one such connection. "And we've discovered their weakness. They literally cannot comprehend that we would sacrifice ourselves for others or for principles." "That matches what Karax told me," Eliza confirmed. "We're disrupting their dimensional barriers through creative expression. The barriers are weakening. Soon we may be able to create a stable gateway between our worlds." "There's something else you should know," Lisa added. "The artifact we found isn't just a communication device. According to what we've learned from the alien survivors here, it's part of a network the Nyx use to monitor developing civilizations. There are likely more of them scattered throughout our galaxy." "Then we need to find them all," Eliza said firmly. The communication cut off as the dimensional tear closed, but both women knew their separate efforts were finally converging toward a solution. As the Horizon crew continued to demonstrate the human capacity for principled action even in the face of certain defeat, the testing ground began to destabilize more dramatically. The boundaries between zones blurred, and the Nyx constructs appeared less frequently. "We're breaking their system," Alan observed. "They designed this place based on how they thought warfare should work. We're showing them something entirely different." Captain Harmon gathered her crew for what she knew would be their final push. "We've shown them that we fight differently. Now let's show them why we're truly feared. Because we know when not to fight at all." Her plan was radical, but perfectly human. Instead of continuing to battle the Nyx constructs, they would attempt to make peace with them. The testing ground shuddered as reality itself began to break down. Captain Lisa Harmon felt the vibrations through the deck plating of the horizon as dimensional barriers weakened. Her plan to make peace with the Nyx constructs had worked in an unexpected way. The entities simply could not process the concept of enemies offering friendship. "The barriers between dimensions are collapsing," Alan Wright reported from his station. "We're getting energy readings that match Earth's signature." Lisa looked at her assembled crew on the bridge. "This is our chance. If we can break through, while the barriers are weak, we can return home." Engineer Paul Rodriguez rushed onto the bridge, his face flushed with excitement. "Captain, I've reconfigured the artifact to amplify the dimensional tear. If we channel all power through it, we might be able to create a stable pathway back to Earth." "Do it," Lisa ordered without hesitation. As Paul worked, the alien Vranik approached Lisa. "What will happen to those of us left behind?" he asked, his skin rippling with concern. Lisa placed a hand on his shoulder. "You're coming with us, all of you. We didn't fight the Nyx just to abandon our allies." Vranik's skin brightened with an emotion the humans had come to recognize as joy. In millions of years of testing species, the Nyx never encountered one that would risk their own escape to save others. "This is why they fear you." On the main screen, space seemed to fold in on itself as Paul activated the modified artifact. A swirling portal of energy formed, growing larger by the second. "Portal is stable," Paul called out, "but I don't know how long it will last." "Begin evacuation," Lisa ordered. "All personnel and our alien allies to the shuttle bay. We're going home." As the crew rushed to execute her orders, a massive presence filled the bridge. Morkath had manifested again, larger and more imposing than ever. "You cannot escape," the deity's voice resonated in their minds. "Your species presents too great a threat." Lieutenant Commander Jack Reeves stepped forward. "We don't want to be your enemies. We've shown that we can fight, but we've also shown that we can choose peace." "This duality makes you unpredictable," Morkath replied, "and therefore dangerous." "Yes," Lisa agreed, standing beside Jack. "We contain both creation and destruction in equal measure. That's what makes us human. We can choose war or peace. Can you?" The question seemed to disturb the entity. Its form flickered and darkened. Meanwhile, on Earth, Major Eliza Washington watched as the sky above the Pentagon tore open. Energy readings matched those transmitted by the horizon during their brief communications. The global creative effort was working. Human art, music, and imagination were weakening the Nyx's hold on reality. "They're coming through," she told her team. "Prepare for possible hostilities, but remember, these are our people returning. Hold fire unless absolutely necessary." The tear in the sky expanded, and through it came the horizon, moving slow and steady, as if sailing through cosmic waters. Behind it trailed several smaller vessels of alien design, the rescued survivors from the testing ground. "Establish communication," Eliza ordered. "Major Washington," Lisa's voice came through clearly. "Request permission to land the Horizon and our allied vessels. We have a lot to tell you." "Permission granted, Captain Harmon. Welcome home." As the ships descended toward the designated landing zone, the dimensional tear began to close. But before it sealed completely, a massive form pushed through. Not Morkath, but Karax, the Nyx who had helped them. People scattered in fear as the deity manifested physically for the first time in millions of years. Its presence was overwhelming, like standing next to a thunderstorm given form. "Do not fear," Karax communicated to everyone present. I come as an ambassador, not a conqueror. The Horizon landed safely, and Lisa led her crew down the ramp to where Eliza waited. The two women clasped hands briefly before turning to face Carax together. The Pantheon has retreated, Carax told them. For now. You have shown them something they had not encountered in billions of years of existence. What was that? Eliza asked. Balance, Carax replied. All other species we encountered were dominated by either destructive or cooperative tendencies. Humans contain both in equal measure, capable of terrible violence but also profound compassion. Lisa nodded. We learned in the testing ground that our greatest strength wasn't our ability to fight, but our ability to choose when not to fight. This is why you are feared, Carax confirmed. Not because you are more violent than other species. You are not. But because you understand violence and peace equally, and can switch between them by choice rather than instinct. The artifact from Proxima 7, now safely stored in a specialized container, pulsed with energy as if in agreement. The Pantheon will return eventually, Carax warned. They have existed since the early universe by manipulating species toward endless war. Your potential to choose peace threatens their very existence. Then we'll be ready, Eliza said firmly. Indai. The days that followed, Earth established a new organization dedicated to preparing humanity for their new role in the cosmos. The alien refugees were welcomed and integrated, sharing their knowledge of the Nyx and other cosmic powers. Scientists studied the artifact, learning more about the network the Nyx had created to monitor developing civilizations. Similar devices were eventually located on other planets in nearby star systems, each one deactivated and studied. 1 month after the return of the Horizon, Lisa visited the secure facility where the original artifact was kept. It pulsed occasionally, with energy, a reminder that somewhere across the dimensions ancient deities were watching humanity's progress. As she studied it, she realized something that both troubled and inspired her. They're afraid of us not because we're violent, she told Jack, who had accompanied her, but because we have the potential to be something they can never be. What's that? He asked. Complete, she answered. They feed on conflict and can only understand war. We understand both war and peace. We contain darkness and light in equal measure, and that makes us something new in the universe, a species that might one day replace even the gods of war. The artifact pulsed one final time, and then went dormant, as if accepting this new reality. Humanity had been tested by deities who had existed since the dawn of time, and in the process had discovered their true potential, not to conquer the stars through violence, but to offer the universe a balanced alternative to eternal conflict. And that was why, even to the deities of war, humanity was something to be feared.